Hello everyone. Today I will walk you through the entire process of connecting OPC server such as Kepserver to Azure Cloud with the use of OPC Publisher module on Azure IoT Edge. Kepserver on the left-hand side is talking to the proprietary protocols, to the PLCs, SCADA systems, automation systems. Kepserver is then passing the data to Microsoft Azure, which is to the right of the slide. Usually the cloud part is on the right of firewall and the on-premises is on the left. Kepware has a multiple way of passing data to the Azure cloud platform via the IoT Hub, via the long-term storage, and using the IoT Edge Docker container runtime, which is actually running on premises downway Kepserver setting. In our demonstration, we will deal with the third one, which is the use of OPC Publisher module on Azure IoT Edge. So we can see that the Kep server is the OPC UA server, and down within the IoT Edge Docker container, there there is an OPC UA client, and that client is the route to pass the data to Azure IoT Hub. We can also pass data to analytical engine or make special treatment to the telemetry and take the advantage of edge computing before sending the data to the cloud. Okay, here we go. Okay, the plan is to connect some industrial equipment exposing an OPC UA interface and have telemetry from that equipment flow into Azure through Azure IoT Hub. To simplify the process, I have used default security options, but I highly recommend to use the security option in production scenario. The OPC Foundation has put together some great articles on OPC UA security best practices. For this demonstration, I choose to use the free demo of KepserverEX and install it on Azure virtual machine. So I deployed a small Windows 10 Pro VM to run the KepserverEX software. Ensure you assign the VM a public IP address so the VM is reachable over the internet and that you configure the NSE to allow inbound RDP access. Note that there is a potential security risk in doing this, so consider using just-in-time access or Azure Bastion service. Record the public IP address of the VM. You will need this later. Connect using remote desktop RDP to the public IP of the Windows 10 VM and login. Download and install the free demo of KepserverEX into the Windows 10 VM. Launch the Kepserver software. By default, the Kepserver software will simulate some data. The simulated data is listed under the connectivity branch. Each simulated item is described by unique node ID. In our case, we will use the data of device 1 under the channel 1 under the channel 1 tab, which is sample counter. Okay, after that, right click into the project and go to OPC UA and set the allow anonymous login to yes and click OK. And then go to OPC UA configuration. Right click on this URL and set the network adapter to default and check the non-security policy. Click on OK. Before we finish this step, we have to create Windows Defender Firewall inbounds rule in order to accept the OPC UA traffic. Okay, good. We have successfully set up the KepserverEX configuration. We have one more step before the OPC UA VM becomes reachable over the internet. We need to configure the Azure VM's network security group to allow inbound traffic on the OPC UA port. Using Azure Portal, browse to dashboard, virtual machines, your VM name, networking, and click Add Inbound Port. Allow TCP port 49320 in my case, inbound from any IP address, or you can also restrict it to the public IP address of your gateway device. So now we are going to deploy in Azure IoT Hub. Go to the Azure portal on Marketplace and search for IoT Hub. You have just to click on Create and follow the instruction to deploy a standard version of Azure IoT Once Hub. Your Azure IoT Hub is deployed, you have to register an IoT Edge device with your newly created IoT Hub. Create a device identity for your IoT Edge device so that it can communicate with your IoT Hub. The device identity lives in the cloud, and you can use unique device connection string to associate physical device to device identity. So go to IoT Edge and simply click on Add an IoT Edge device. You have to provide a device ID and then click Save. So view the connection string for your device, which links your physical device with its identity in the IoT Hub. It contains the name of your IoT Hub, the name of your device, and then a shared key that authenticates a connection between the two. We will refer to this connection string again in the next section when you will set up your IoT Edge device. Okay, next. Configure your IoT Edge device. Since IoT Edge devices behave and can be managed differently than typical IoT devices, declare this identity to be for an IoT Edge device. Use Azure Resource Manager template to create a new virtual machine and install the IoT Edge runtime on it. If you want to use your own Linux device instead, you can follow the installation steps on Microsoft Docs. In our case, you can use this PowerShell command, for which I put the link on the description of this video. You just need to replace the text in the placeholder with your own information. So once the deployment is complete, you should receive JSON format output in the CLI that contains the SSH information to connect to the virtual machine. Copy the value of the public SSH entry of the output sections. Once connected to your virtual machine, verify that the runtime was successfully installed and configured on your IoT Edge device with this simple command. So the IoT Edge runtime is deployed on all IoT Edge devices. It has three components. The IoT Edge security daemon starts each time an IoT Edge device boots and bootstrap the device by starting the IoT Edge agent. The IoT Edge agent facilitates the deployment and monitoring of modules on the IoT Edge device, including the IoT Edge Hub. The IoT Edge Hub manages communications between modules on the IoT Edge device and between the device and the IoT Hub. Your IoT Edge device is now configured. It's ready to run cloud deployed module. While these instructions are for Linux, note that the OPC Publisher also supports Windows. One of the key capabilities of Azure IoT Edge is deploying code to your IoT Edge devices from the cloud. IoT Edge modules are executable packages implemented as containers. In this section, you will deploy a pre-built module from the IoT Edge module section of Azure Marketplace directly from Azure IoT Hub. The model that we will deploy in this section is OPC Publisher. Sign in to Azure portal and go to your Azure IoT Hub. From the menu on the left under Automatic Device Management, select IoT Edge. Select the device ID of the target device from the list of devices. On the upper bar, select Set Modules. The first step of the wizard is to choose which modules you want to run on your device. Under IoT Edge modules, open the Add drop-down menu and then select Marketplace module. In IoT Edge module Marketplace, search for and select OPC Publisher module. The module is added OPC Publisher. The module is added to the IoT Edge module section with the desired running status. After you create the module deployment details, the wizard returns to the device details page. View the deployment status on the module tabs. You should see three modules: Edge Agent, Edge Hub, and OPC Publisher module. If one or more of the modules has yes under specified in deployment and not under reported by device, your IoT Edge device is still starting them. Wait few minutes and then refresh the page. Now we are going to configure the OPC Publisher module. The OPC Publisher module is deployed like any other Azure IoT Edge module. However, it has many configuration options which are documented on the GitHub repo. Do yourself a favor, acquaint yourself with this configuration option before proceeding, and it will make more sense for you. You can configure the OPC Publisher to connect to OPC UA server by either placing all the required OPC UA server information in pn.json file or by calling IoT Hub direct methods exposed by the OPC Publisher module. For simplicity, we will use the publish node.json file. On the gateway, create folder to store published node.json file. This folder will be mounted inside the OPC Publisher container under app data through the container create option. So we have here our pn.json file. So create pn.json file with the following content and save it to the eIoT folder on the gateway. Replace the TCP URL with the public IP address of the OPC UA VM running the KepserverEX. So go to Azure portal, go to IoT Edge and select your IoT Edge device. Select Set Modules. Select OPC Publisher module. On the container create option, the page should resemble the following. Click Save or Update in my case. On the root page, ensure the root resemble the following. Click Next and click Submit. At this point, the deployment will be triggered by IoT Hub and the IoT Edge gateway will begin to download the OPC Publisher module from the container registry. Once the OPC Publisher module is downloaded and started by Edge Agent, run the following command. It should show the Publisher module running. So the last step is to verify that IoT Hub is receiving the telemetry from the OPC UA server. You can use Device Explorer, Azure CLI, or Visual Studio Code, which I use in my case, to view messages being received by IoT Hub. If you've gotten this far, congratulations! You have connected an OPC UA device to Azure IoT Hub using the OPC Publisher module. Well done! I hope this tutorial helped you to deploy and configure OPC Publisher on Azure IoT Edge. I welcome your feedback. Thank you.